Today I'm going to be using a three-step total etch technique using OptiBond FL by KERR. So we'll begin with etching the enamel, and after I've gone all around the enamel margins, I will then fill up the tooth and count to 12. This technique ensures that the enamel will get etched 15 plus seconds, since it takes some time to go all around the enamel margin. And since it takes a couple of seconds, 2-3 seconds, to fill the cavity from the bottom up, what happens then is it gives me an enamel etch of 15 plus seconds and a dentin etch of 15 minus seconds. We'll begin with the enamel. Go down the proximal, across the gingival margin, up the facial, and then just fill the tooth up. I like to etch beyond the cavo-surface margin. I'm doing that intentionally. At this point, we're going to count to about 12. I will dry everything outside the matrix band, not blowing any air into the tooth structure. The assistant will briefly suction over the tooth. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and add some chlorhexidine. This is a material called Concepsis from Ultradent. And the chlorhexidine is not just used as an antimicrobial, but also to inhibit the so-called proteases or collagenases within dentin that are stimulated to activity from the acid etch procedure, and this will inhibit them. Now, we would like to achieve the correct amount of so-called wet, moist, or damp dentin. So the assistant is suctioned over the chlorhexidine, the Concepsis, and I'm going in and just blot a little bit to obtain the right. And what we're looking for here is a barely glistening surface. We don't want it dull. We don't want it dry. And I'm applying now the OptiBond FL primer, and I like to apply the primer with at least a couple of very sloppy wet coats. We don't want to under prime. It can be a hazard in total etch procedure. So another coat using a little bit smaller, and as you can see, I'm scrubbing somewhat, or certainly agitating. And then we'll go ahead and dry. The drying procedure, we would like to dry the alcohol solvent, but leave the hydrophilic monomer, which is what is in the primer, on the dentin. So I'm going to start by blowing gentle air across the tooth, and then I'll gradually increase the airflow until the surface is dry. And if we go close up right now, what we want to make sure we've done through inspection now is that we have a completely glossy surface, just as you see there, every bit. If there's going to be any dull surface anywhere, it would be seen in those deep stained areas of dentin. But as you can see, we have a complete glossy surface. So that means now step 3, which is the organic resin, the last coat, just coating the whole surface with the resin, the third step of a 3-step etch and rinse procedure. And I'll just kind of thin this just a little bit, not too much necessary there, since we're going to be adding composite resin. So we'll cure that now for 10 seconds with the demi. Which is a high-powered LED light, neighborhood of 1,000 to 1,300 milliwatts per centimeter squared, in that range there. High-energy light. And so our adhesive is placed and cured, and the entire surface, as we can see on inspection, is all glossy. So there will be a comfortable restoration.